Hey, Healing Family. I wanted to sit down and have a little talk about just consistency and simplicity in healing our limbic system. And I drew a lot of parallels. I sat down and was brainstorming and wrote up kind of like this essay almost on the parallels I see between being a mental health therapist and a limbic system healer and a yoga therapist, and how anything that we consistently want to make progress in, we have to consistently show up and practice. And so I wanted to share my insights on that today and just some of the things I came up with along the way. So it might just be more of kind of like a philosophical idea that I wanted to put out there. But part of the reason I wanted to talk about it is I think that so many people want to buy a program or try something new and they want it to instantly work, right? And it's really no one's fault because we are sold a lot of quick fixes from the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry. Everything is marketed as a quick fix. But in holistic healing, there is no quick fix. We are on this journey and we have to commit to daily practice in order to set the stage for healing. So as a therapist and a yoga teacher, I'm reminded every day that consistency and practicing these skills is the real work of nurturing our health. So if you've been my client for 5+ years, you've probably frequently heard the same advice and you get the same homework. Rest, breathe, practice mindfulness and gratitude, get outside, spend time with positive people. And it's really simple, right? But it's not only because these skills work, but also it's just because we really often forget the basics. We assume that it's too simple to have an effect, and we don't like to dive deeper into committed practices because we think we need to do something big and grandiose. Or we convince ourselves that we're too broken, that something so simple couldn't possibly help us. And so this is where these metaphors linking like the yogic tradition come into play, and they fit really well with the therapeutic and healing framework. Yoga is known to be right about consistent practice, showing up on your mat. People say, I have a yoga practice or a meditation practice. They don't say like, oh, I'm an expert at yoga, I'm an expert at meditation, right? It's about showing up consistently. And showing up with those same postures or the same breath practices or the same meditations or mantras or affirmations day after day, week after week, year after year, and just watching yourself progress and grow and change, but from the same practices repeated over and over again. So we learn about consistency and patience and dedication. And these aren't flashy, fancy, trendy catchphrases. So they don't feel exciting. They don't promise a quick fix. But whether it's your mental health, self-care, committing to healthy diet, spending time with your loved ones without distractions, or really any other goal of being more present and healing, these keys of committed practice and patience and dedication are the building blocks to long-term healing and success. But in a world where we are obsessed with dramatic results and before and afters and extreme challenges and the next big thing, we're searching for this magic pill to fix our problems, and we've lost sight of the beauty of just simple, small, sustainable growth and practices. Really like dedicated and consistent practice of our skills, even with small habits, has always been and always will be that key and the lifeblood of our well-being. So even just living in key with our circadian rhythms, with our sleep patterns, with our eating patterns, we have to return to the core anchors of our life in order to continue to function and to regain this innate sense of safety and worth. So breath, movement, connecting with nature, co-regulation with other healthy living beings around us. These really are those cornerstones. It's simple, but it is leading us to a well-lived, balanced life. Polyvagal theory often kind of elaborates on this. It exemplifies the importance of finding balance in your nervous system. We need enough activation to be productive and motivated, but not so much that we're in a stress state. And we need enough relaxation to feel safe and to heal, but not so much that we're kind of zoned out or passive all the time. That sweet spot in the middle is social engagement, where our nervous system is a state where we are safe enough to enjoy the company of others and feel motivated by them and get all those good neurotransmitters going. We're awake enough to have fun and enjoy the energy exchange of being social, but we're calm enough to feel safe, and we're regulated, and we're picking safe environments to be in so that we can show up in that way. And when we show up to a yoga mat or a meditation cushion, there's a comfortable familiarity of our practice. And this really helps us to get into a zone of dedication and safety as well. It's often said that it's the practice of just showing up to the mat itself or just putting on those shoes to go out the door for a run. That's the transformation and the powerful piece, right? It's the fact that you show up is the hardest part. Once you're there in that familiar, comfortable space, you kind of get right back into that rhythm. It's like riding a bike. It doesn't matter really what poses you're practicing, or if you're advanced or beginner, or if you're just sitting there in a meditation state, or what you're wearing. The consistent act of showing up for yourself and practicing those same skills over and over and dedicating yourself to just self-mastery and being able to drop into a relaxed state and feeling at ease in maybe poses that once felt new or uncertain and now they feel familiar and comfortable. We remember to find our breath in a world where so often we are disconnected from our bodies. This simplicity, this is the real magic of any kind of yoga or meditation or self-care practice, because it also reminds us that when we consistently show up in the world, even in situations that in the beginning feel a little uncertain or scary or new, if we consistently just show up, we will eventually over time feel safe and feel regulated and feel more able to authentically be in those spaces with confidence. The world is really pulling us in a lot of other directions. So we have round-the-clock access to social media, just doom scrolling, news alerts, this constant connection to the outside world and influence. They've become daily realities. It takes a lot of effort to disconnect and recharge, which is ironic because for millions of years we were wired for this more organic, simple daily life and living seasonally and living according to the circadian rhythms. So the progress that we've seen in technology, which promises us a better life, has actually been a huge source of stress and anxiety and comparison and depression and reactivity for us. And while it may not be possible or realistic to return to an overly simple life off the grid for everyone, yoga and mindfulness and self-care practices and being out in nature offers a temporary break from the noise and distraction and puts us more into our normal evolutionary biology-based state that we're supposed to be in, right? We were not designed through evolution to be sitting on technology scrolling all day. We were designed to be in our bodies and present. In my work as a therapist, I often ask my clients to write down their daily routine and then mark off the times where their stress or anxiety or depression are most noticeable. And undoubtedly, some of the highest points of distress are related to scrolling and comparing on social media, getting nervous about the news, being overwhelmed with workplace stressors, or family disputes. And what I find interesting in couples and family therapy is how many of the issues we discuss have to do with technology and being overly busy or distracted, or this inorganic communication where so many of these disputes are starting through text or misunderstanding something because we're not in true polyvagal theory of co-regulation. It's when you're in person interacting with others, not this, manufactured texting. And so organically, when we spend time together or in nature or quiet evening at home, there's more natural co-regulation that occurs. But add in, stressors and external kind of things that get in the way with technology or arguing about world events or politics, because really, how often does that affect us in our daily life if we're not consuming it through social media? But you'll soon see a disruption even in the most well-intentioned relationships. So how do we use these same self-care practices to heal relationships? So remembering the keys of consistency, simplicity, gratitude, and showing up. So if we simplify our relationships, we zone out the stuff around us that really has no business in our day-to-day life, right? It's only been in the last, maybe 30, 40, 50 years that we've had so much of this external input in our daily life that we really don't need. Like, it's not serving us. It's not helping us to know what's going on all around the world all at once at all times. Things were much simpler when we zone in and we focus on just our family, ourselves, our local communities, right? We focus on being present in the here and now, communicating organically, spending time together disconnected from world events, and focusing on our immediate lives, how to better ourselves and those around us. coming to a yoga mat or meditation cushion, again, it reminds us of this importance of disconnecting from the world around us. Dedicated practice usually consists of turning off our phone and setting aside specific time dedicated into our journey, into our practice. Whether we're at home, we're at a yoga studio, or on our porch, we step onto that mat or we sit on that cushion, and symbolically we're transported to just a smaller, calmer, and more gentle microcosm. And it's just us and our breath, our body, our mind, nature around us, and we're floating on this small island of our mat or cushion. And so how do we replicate this feeling in other aspects of our lives? The self-care skills that we work on in therapy are a great start. I use yoga as a metaphor very often for consistently practicing these skills in our daily lives, remembering it's okay to turn off your phone or utilize that do not disturb mode anytime in your day that you need it, not just if you're going to a yoga class. Often the hardest part of practicing a skill is just showing up. Stepping on that mat for yoga, putting on your shoes to go for a walk, allowing the space to breathe as part of your day-to-day routine. We really just have to create time and space and allow that experience to unfold and guide us where we need to be that day. We can use the sequence of a familiar yoga practice or art form that we enjoy or dance to help guide our self-care work. We step into that zone and we show dedication and the importance of we are putting ourselves first. If we think about in yoga with sun salutations, it reminds us of our deep connection to nature and a reminder just to be grateful for every new sunrise and sunset, for our ability to move and feel strong and breathe and feel. These constant reminders come back to our breath throughout our practice. It's a great example of how easily we become distracted even in a dedicated yoga class, and why we need to remind ourselves to take the time to breathe and notice just throughout our regular stressful day. We build strength and we focus and we learn about endurance in like a warrior series, for example. And this is a great analogy for being able to push through difficult aspects of our life. We hold space in this discomfort that maybe we have to hold a pose for a long time, and we dig deep to find resilience and inner strength. And sometimes the emotions and sensations that come up might feel scary or unpleasant, but we learn how to stick with that work phase of that process, and we gain a deeper understanding of our shadow selves, and we can tap into inner strength, and then we can feel accomplished at what we were able to achieve. And the deep somatic experience of stretching and releasing those stuck areas towards the end of our practice perhaps mirrors that trauma work that we often do throughout our day or in therapy. We have gained our strength, we have uncovered new areas that felt stuck, and now we take that time to gently work on releasing those emotions in healthy and expressive ways that feel safe to us. It's a reminder to open up and allow emotions to come through when needed throughout our day, and to keep that connection to our bodies that we often lose when we're living too much in our heads in this fast-paced cerebral world. And finally, with Shavasana, meditation phase at the end, this is a parallel to this importance of rest and sleep and hibernation and reflection and mindfulness in our daily lives. So consistently practicing these skills, whether that's in yoga, therapy, or self-care, it builds resilience and discipline. I don't know how often I have to remind myself or my clients that there is no quick fix. We don't need to spend money on pills or programs. We just have to put in slow, steady, consistent work of basic skills, breath, connection to nature and others, union of mind, body, and spirit. The dedication can feel like hard work, but coming back to the simplicity and the comfort of practice always feels like coming home. So just as advancing our practice requires consistency and commitment, so does your mental or physical health journey. When we focus on things that create a sense of safety for our nervous system and that reconnect us to our essence, we find a sense of ease and connection and contentment. But first comes the work. What do we need to do to stay consistent? Do we need to set a reminder on our phones to remind us to breathe, or create a block on our work calendar where we silence our phone and listen to our guided meditation practice, or get up and stretch? Do we take a social media break and delete the apps temporarily because we notice that they're bringing us distress or addictive behaviors to endless doom scrolling? Reinforcing the importance of connection to our loved ones with dedicated time together. Just as we have to set up our committed weekly class schedule if we're going to go to yoga, or a weekly therapy schedule, we have to create that same space for our daily self-care practices and guard it just as carefully. Have you maybe ever had a pose that you've worked on for years, or a hobby or something that you really have had to fine-tune, and maybe you don't even realize the progress you're making, and then suddenly one day you're surprised at how good you're doing at that skill that you've been working on? It might be that newfound ease of your hands touching the floor in a forward fold, whereas a year ago you were resting them on your knees. Maybe it's that stronger muscle tone you feel when you're holding a warrior pose or picking up your groceries, and you realize you no longer are shaky or trembling when you're trying to do something because you've built some strength. Or you notice now that at the end of a yoga practice, that meditation phase feels like a calm just flowing over you at the end of the class, and you're blissfully kind of floating in space for what could feel like hours, whereas before it might have felt like an eternity of trying not to move and thinking over and over, is this class over? How long is this meditation? I have a lot to do today. So with this consistent practice, we don't see immediate results, and they often come slowly over time and unexpectedly. It's the same way in the healing world. We might, see someone who used to have panic attacks at every work meeting, but they started doing a breath practice every time beforehand and using a hand mudra, under their desk to calm themselves. And initially, they might just barely get through that next meeting. But then within a few weeks, they feel like their panic has decreased to like a 5. And then they keep doing the practice. And then maybe it's just some anxiety around if they have to stand up and talk at the meetings. And over time, they notice that using those skills consistently has led them to feel calmer throughout their whole day. And they no longer dread the meeting. They might even share some breathwork skills with a colleague who, confides they're struggling with something similar. I really value this ability to change the world by changing ourselves. So we have to do our own healing in order to share it and to give back. Small, consistent habits are the biggest factor in this. And when we work first on accepting where we are and then committing ourselves to identifying what our values are and living in alignment with them, we're not fighting against these obstacles, but we're accepting them as just a part of our journey and showing up to live the life we want. This is so important. The world is not perfect. No one can escape suffering. There is no magic pill, but the suffering is only as powerful as the energy that we give it. If we commit to living in alignment with our values, we create energy and momentum and consistent practice in alignment with those goals. We can live our life focused on what makes us happy and gives us purpose, and we create a life worth living. Yoga and meditation are like that. They're a great metaphor. We don't think that when we show up to the mat, all of our troubles will magically disappear, but that we know for that time that we're there and showing up and practicing. We're creating a safe haven where we can remember what it feels like to be good and safe and nourished. And we know that those skills we cultivate through our practice, we can take them off the mat and bring them back to the world with us to face our challenges with renewed vitality and less reactivity. It's the same in brain retraining and holistic healing, in therapy, whatever we're using to heal ourselves. So where can we create habits in our life this week to buffer against those stressors in our lives? Let's work to create committed practice that bolsters us against the worries of the world. Let's start with breath work, showing up to our practices, spending time with loved ones, connecting to nature, being mindful, and practicing gratitude each day. It might sound simple, but that's the point. We have everything we need to heal already within us, and we just need to make the space and dive in. I hope that this sit down and chat with me was helpful today. I hope that you took something from it. Please like and subscribe and comment any questions you might have along your healing journey. And I wish you just a beautiful week full of healing and love and peace. Let me know how your practices are going, and I hope everyone is just enjoying the best day.